Batman, Arkham City, Part 3, Game of Death. Gotham City, New Jersey, Monday, January 18th, 2021. Batman has just rescued Dr. Baker from the clutches of the Joker, but in the process, the Joker injected enough of his dirty blood into Batman to cause Batman to suffer from Titan poisoning. And now time was running short. As they arrived to the medical center, Batman had learned that the Riddler had kidnapped everybody, and he had set out to find out where the Riddler was, and the Riddler left enough clues for Batman to find him. Batman arrives at one building by the flooded section of Arkham City. There was a giant neon green question mark painted on a brick wall. Batman feels the brick wall and feels that the brick wall was hollow. Then he proceeds to smash the wall. Batman sees a hidden door, and it was also painted with the bright green question marks. And Batman opens the door, and as soon as he opens the door shuts behind him, and he can hear the door had locked. He couldn't get out. Batman wondered as he was following the green lit floors as it was guiding him to where he needed to go. He came upon a bigger room, and suddenly the lights turned on. Along with the lights were laser lights that were shining the giant green question marks all over the floors as they moved around. And Batman could see ahead of him a podium. And Batman walks up to the podium, and all of a sudden, metal bars rise up from the floor like a cage, trapping him in. And Batman hears the Jeopardy theme playing loud overhead, and he hears the familiar voice of Riddler saying,
"Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Enigma Show, and here's your host, Edward Nigma."
Batman then sees the Riddler come walking in to a podium ahead of him. The Riddler's costume was all tattered, and he had one of his canes with him, and he was gesturing a golf swing with it. And he comes up to his podium and starts talking like he was addressing an audience, and he says,
"Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to this edition of the Enigma Show. And tonight's contestant is 6'1", weight unknown, possibly from Gotham City, and stupid as they come. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for the King Thug himself, the Batman."
Then the Riddler presses the button on his podium, and the room fills with the sound of a studio audience applause. And the Riddler begins to explain the rules to Batman.
The rules are simple, Dark Knight. I'm going to give you 6 questions, all riddles, and you have to answer them correctly. If you don't, these contestants...
As he says that, the green curtains behind him lift up, revealing Aaron Cash, the medical protection team, and the doctors and nurses, all on green tiles tied down to chairs. And he says,
"These tiles are electric, Dark Knight, and the wrong answer will result in a very bad shock for them. And the power will increase as you get more and more wrong answers until, well, it's easy to guess, Dark Knight, so it's best that you answer all the questions correctly. And if you answer the questions correctly,"
says the Riddler,
"then your friends are free to go, and then you will enter the sudden death match."
Then the Riddler begins to ask Batman the first riddle. He says,
"Alright, Dark Knight, the first riddle. I am an instrument whose music always comes from the heart. What am I?"
Then the Batman answers,
"You're an organ."
And the Riddler says in shock,
"Wow, that's the correct answer, Dark Knight, but that was just a lucky guess."
Then the Riddler says,
"Okay, on to the next riddle."
Then he gives Batman the next riddle.
"If you know me, you'll want to share me, but if you share me, I'll be gone. What am I?"
Batman answers again.
A secret.
Then the Riddler responds with shock.
"What? Nah, just a lucky guess again,"
said the Riddler. Then the Riddler says to Batman,
"Okay, Dark Knight, it's time for riddle number 3. The more there is, the less you see. What could I be?"
Then Batman just flatly answers,
Darkness.
The Riddler was shocked again, and he says to Batman,
It can't be. You're cheating.
Batman just stares at the Riddler, and then the Riddler goes on to ask Batman his next riddle, and he says,
Alright, Dark Knight, here comes the fourth riddle. I have a head, a tail, but never any legs. Do you know what I am?
Then Batman answers the riddle.
Penny.
Then the Riddler reacts violently, pounding his fist on his podium, saying,
No, no, no! An idiot like you can't be getting this!
Then the Riddler says to Batman,
Alright, you're not going to be able to get this next riddle. No one ever does.
Then the Riddler asks Batman the next riddle. He says,
I'll be right under your feet in the midday sun. You cannot lose me, no matter how you run. What am I?
Then Batman curtly answers him.
A shadow.
The Riddler once again got angry and started going on a tirade, and Aaron Cash shouts, Because you're stupid, Nigma. Your riddles are stupid. And then MPT North joins in the shouting, Yeah, a 5-year-old can figure out those riddles. Then Riddler presses a button, shocking both men, but not killing them. And he says,
Well, if we're done with comments from the peanut gallery, here's the final riddle, Batman.
says the Riddler. And the Riddler says,
Hit me hard and I will crack, but you'll never stop me from staring back. What am I?
And the Batman answered.
Mirror.
The Riddler becomes enraged that Batman had beat him, and then he calms himself down and he says to Batman,
Okay, Batman, you win this round. Your friends get to go, but now you must face sudden death.
said Riddler. Then the Riddler presses a button on his podium, and the spot where Batman was standing on turned out to be a trapdoor, and Batman fell as the door opened. After Batman fell through, then the door closes. Batman slides down, and he ends up in a room. He looks around. The room was kind of big, but Batman noticed a giant object in the room. It was long and cylindrical. It was a bar. It was probably about 15-20 foot long and probably about 5 foot thick. It was horizontal in position, and it had giant blades throughout it, and it began to spin, and it was coming towards Batman. Batman also noticed to the right of him a wall full of red buttons. There had to have been at least 30 or more. One of them would turn off the spinning blades. And the Riddler says overhead as his voice echoed in the room,
Well, Dark Knight, let's see how you beat the sudden death challenge. I don't expect you to beat this. No one ever does. No one ever does. No one ever does. Goodbye and good riddance.
Meanwhile, above, the Riddler tells the rest of the medical team,
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, as I promised, you all get to go now, so as soon as I see that Batman is dead, then you're all free to go back and try to survive in his prison like me,
said the Riddler. Then the Riddler begins to make his way to the entryway to where the stairwell that leads to the death trap room below was. As he was making his way there, all of a sudden, the Batman jumps from above right in front of him, and the Riddler says,
Holy crap! It can't be! How did you survive that?
Batman did not answer him and proceeded to beat the crap out of him until he was on the ground, bloodied and unconscious. Then Batman went to untie the medical team and the MPTs, and Aaron Cash thanked Batman, and then he asked Batman the $1,000,000 question. Hey, Batman, how did you survive his death trap? Then Batman explains to Aaron Cash,
I was lucky. I pressed the right button the first time.
In reality, dear listeners, it was just that Batman used detective mode to reveal which was the right button to press. And one of the doctors asked Aaron Cash, what are you going to do about the Riddler? And Cash says, well, there's a nice basement in the church we can lock him in. And a nurse said to Cash, that's a good idea. Then Batman explains to Aaron Cash that he saved Dr. Baker and explained to him too what Joker did to him and asked him about the whereabouts of Mr. Freeze. And Aaron Cash says, the Iceman? He's holed up in the old police substation in the very west end of the island. Then Batman thanked Aaron Cash and walked off. Next stop, the old police substation. Like and subscribe. The end.